Namaste, good evening, everyone.
Wait a minute. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Prasanna garu.
Namaste and good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to yet another inspiring hour, our monthly session. Welcome to the unique platform utsAhin, and today's topic is specially for students and teachers, promoting scientific temperament in students. And special welcome to our guests of honor, our speakers for the day, Padma Shri M.Y.S. Prasad Garu, former Director ISRO, Sri Harikota, former Vice Chancellor, Vignan's Foundation for Science and Technology and Research Institute, University, and Dr. T.P. Sasikumar Garu, Life Mentor, Space Scientist, Educationalist, Author, Spiritual Director, and Motivational Speaker. It's an honor to welcome you to this platform today, sir. And without any delay, I now welcome Raghuram sir to be the facilitator for the day and take the program ahead.
Alage. And I will run the Hello.
Yes, sir. Over to you, sir.
All right, namaste everybody, and namaste, and welcome, Dr. TBS sir. And today's session, let us start with the prayer as always, and we have Mrs. Vasuki Devi for rendering the prayer. Over to you, Vasuki, please. Unmute, Vasu. Vasu, unmute. She's not able to unmute. What is this here?
She has to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Samvadatvam Sambho Manasi Janata Sangatvam Samvadatvam Sambho Manasi Janata Devabhagam Yatha Purve Sanjnana Upasate Samano Mantra Samiti Samaniv Pakutihi Samana Hridayaniv Samanamastu Omano Yethavah Susahasati Sankachetvam Samvadatvam Samvo Manasi Janata Samvo Manasi Janata.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Vaspy. My dear utsAhins, and all those who have joined in the YouTube link, the educators, the students, an individual is considered to be having a scientific temperament if he or she employs a method of decision making in everyday life. And this has to be inculcated right from our primary grades. A recorded version of this particular webinar will be available to reach out to as many students as possible beyond our circle also. I'm very happy to share with you all that we have shared our YouTube links to more than 30 schools throughout the country, spread around all the states, for their higher grade students to benefit from this talk. I'm sure our speakers today need no introduction. Of course, their profile is attached along with our invite. It speaks about even a little detail of their work towards today's topic of promoting scientific temperament. Let me take the privilege of inviting our first speaker today, Dr. T.P. Sashikumar, fondly called as TPS, to inspire us on the steps to develop curiosity towards learning science. Dr. TPS has headed many leading organizations as Deputy Director, Scientist of Advanced Data Processing Research Institute, Hyderabad, ISRO headquarters, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, as a professor for and head of the department for JNTU, Hyderabad. Above all, he's a great human being. He's here to inspire us for the next 15 to 20 minutes on developing curiosity to learn. Over to you, TPS, sir.
Namaskaram, Raghunathji. Namaskaram to the office bearers of utsAhin and Padma Shri Dr. Prasadji, who was my colleague at ISRO, and then I happened to meet him in Vignan when I went for my TED talk there, and some other guest lecture in electronics and MBA departments. When we talk about rational scientific thinking, the first name traditionally which come to anyone who is a reader is the Greek philosopher Socrates. It's 399, nearly 400 BC, that's the time. The death sentence was given to him for being a rational human being. So what is traditionally in belief, if somebody questions, he becomes an enemy to the irrational society probably. Society sometimes is irrational because most of the faith systems which we have today started before the science has sprouted. Unfortunately, most of the scientific, the so-called scientific, the so-called rational, the so-called people who have called themselves as scientific, they also have some irrational, the faith system which cannot be logically explained. Human beings are such. Probably they speak something, do something. That's why we have only teachers, but no acharyas and that sort of people who understand such philosophy. The court has, or for Socrates, there were two charges. One was it's a criminal charge where he made mockery of the divine gods. Can you imagine? And he did not acknowledge the wordings of the god. As if he is introducing new deities was the blame on him. So he is one of the greatest personality when we talk about rational thinking, epistemology. I'm a philosophy student. I'm a science communicator. So when we talk about philosophy and science goes together, because when science you explain to somebody in the words of understanding things, that becomes philosophy. That's why even if you take a PhD in Doctor of Mathematics, PhD, Doctor of Philosophy is what is given. So people may think when you talk about science, why you are talking about philosophy. Soon after this lecture, I have another session on philosophy family of India. So I'm talking about Shraddha, concentration. When you talk about concentration, that becomes science. When you talk about Shraddha, Dhyanam, Samadhi, it becomes religion, or maybe spiritual, or maybe philosophy, or psychology. So all of them goes together. But for a lower level people, all of them are different compartments. When you join together, it becomes the higher thoughts. So Socrates had that higher thought. So he was able to compartmentalize and rationalize. And that is what each one of us have to grow into. So scientific temper has to be understood in slightly different style than thinking science and experiment is scientific temper. It's not. It's a day-to-day attitudinal change. In the recent past, August, I don't remember exactly, I think August 20th, 2013, one of the greatest scientists of India, very recently, almost 10 years back, a Maharashtra person who is called Narendra. We have two great Narendras. One is Swami Vivekananda in the east, and we have in the west, Bombay also one Narendra, who was famous for scientific temper. And what is that scientific temper? And what is that his contribution? He made a Maharashtra Blind Faith Eradication Committee. And that in Hindi or Sanskrit together, it is called Maharashtra Andha Shraddha Nirmulan Samiti. Andha Shraddha, your blind focus. Your focus is there, but it is blind. That means you are an atheist. No, you are not an atheist. You are blind in that also. Your every faith is blind. So what is required is rational. Atheists also have rational thinking. Religious people also can have rational thinking. So don't think that scientific temper means you are against religion. You are against the concept of God. But concept of God in a higher level is Advaita Vedanta. That is to be understood as scientific. Shankara was a great scientist in that context. So India, maybe unofficially, there are a lot of organizations who believe that, or maybe those organizations believe that the National Scientific Temper Day is August 20th. And I belongs to that family. My brother was the president of Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad. And from my childhood, we used to have that scientific temper being part of every activity. We had a drama, the road shows, explain what science is. My father-in-law was also an activist there. They are called activists, Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad. But that was in early 90s. It started in 1962, before my birth. And I remember being part of it from 82, maybe 20 years later, to 10, 20 years. But today it has become politically high. So any movement in India gets into the hands of politics, then the real purpose is lost. So I pity on such activities. So that is also irrational. Sometimes politics becomes blind politics. So rational is not there. So politics also can be called as irrational. So what is not rational is what is not scientific. So politics sometimes becomes non-scientific. Otherwise, it is political science. If it is done for the purpose of human being, it is called the political science. So, okay, let me come to the definition of what is scientific. I stay in Telangana and I keep traveling to most of the places in and around Andhra. For last 30 years, I am here. There is a great university in the name of a great chemist. Anyone here who could answer that? Anyone here who could answer that? There is a great university where you can be proud that Telugu speaking people.
Great university.
Under the name of a great chemist. When we talk about science, scientific, his name should come first. Anyone?
Acharya Nagarjuna.
Wonderful, Ravi Shankar. Acharya Nagarjuna. He is called an Acharya. He is an Acharya. What is Nagarjuna's speciality? Nagarjuna said, it is not what you practice, what Guru says. That need not be science. Lokanam upakaraya etat sarvam pradarshidam. What cannot be experimented need not be nonsense. What can be experimented need not be science. Sakshat anubhavair drushto. What you can experience is science. Sakshat anubhavair drushto na sruto. Na guru darshitaha lokanam upakaraya etat sarvam pradarshidam. If it is useful for human being, he was a great scientist. Scientist of chemistry, scientist of medical science, scientist of fertilizer. That is why you will see fertilizer name Nagarjuna fertilizer, Nagarjuna chemical shop, Nagarjuna medical shop. But you will not see Nagarjuna chicken shop and mutton shop and barber shop. That is because he has been recognized by everyone in this world as scientists. So it's some 13th century great scientist, and we have a university, and people don't know what is his contribution. He defined what is science. He defined what is laboratory, how much fees is to be paid, how much salary is to be paid to a chemist, to a helper, how much salary is to be. So economics was also involved in that. So that is scientific temper. When you make an organization, understand every rational around that. So it is science. It is speaking science. Fearlessness is also, see, you have to speak something carefully, it is science. If you speak carelessly without understanding, see, people teach in the academic institution. I have trained more than millions of teachers in this country and outside country also. I keep saying teachers are actually don't understand the subject, but they learn it and speak. Don't learn and speak, understand. When you understand, you speak fearless. And there is a morality in you. So speaking fearless, speaking with morality is scientific thinking. No doubt. Today morning, somebody asked me from Africa, do you believe in God? I said, I don't believe. Do you believe this is a pen? I don't believe. I know this is a pen because I can test with that. So knowing is not believing. Believing is at the first level. Knowing has to grow. LKG, you can believe this is a dog. This is a elephant because you are seeing pictures on in the book which you are learning. But when you come up at the PG level, you must be able to realize. That is what is realizing God. So scientific thinking changed the world. When you ask questions, I keep saying 5 wives and 1 husband, good enough. Where, when, why, what, all start with the WWW. And 1 H, how. If you can ask this, you have scientific temper. So what is scientific temper? Very easy to remember. Why, where, when, what, all ask this question. Who, when, and then how. And then thinking will come. Your brain starts functioning. The thoughts will come. Whether answer comes, whether it leads to an answer, doesn't matter. See, such thoughts only made. I keep saying scientific temper starts with 3 apples in the world. So 3 apples made people to think. The first apple was the Adam and Eve story, you know. There was somebody who ate an apple with a question, why should not I eat? What will happen? Bible writes you should not eat. But there was somebody with the courage, fearless. If I eat, what will happen? That is how you remember the concept of that. That's why apple is called the fruit of creation. That's how the creation started. The God had created a wonder with one apple. So the first was one apple. Second apple, all of us know. Newton was sitting and apple has fallen. Luckily, he was not in Kerala and coconut did not fall. Otherwise, he would have been finished. Right? So apple has got a second apple. That is the second apple. And what is the third apple? Third apple is everybody is on apple today. Without apple, nothing works. Right? So everything is apple. So we have to salute that Steve Jobs where he has given apple, the third apple, which changed the world in the way it has to create, the way people have to use smartphone, how earpod, iPod, everything is there, you know. So the gadgets made the life attractive. There are some false stories around that, why he created apple and why half apple and all that. And I'm not going to the hoax of the story because we are talking about scientific thinking today. India is great because India had this rational thinking. I gave you the example of Acharya Nagarjuna. Logic was more example. Yukti yuktam upadeyam vachanam balakadapi anyatranamavatyajyam apyuktam brahmakadapi. Even God comes and tells you, Brahma comes and tells you. Brahma is the God of creativity. Actual PhD. We all have to pray on, not to Saraswati. Saraswati will give you knowledge, learning. You do become rational thinkers, scientific temper, do PhD, do research. You must think about her husband. And her husband is Brahma. That is why he is called the God of creativity, research. And that God of creativity, research says, even if he comes and says some irrational things, you can question him. That is what Bharatiya Veda Shastra says. You can ask him, I don't believe you. Tell me the reason. So you can question God. Don't believe blindly what God says. What a great religion is this. So is it not scientific? Our scientific thought comes from Brahma himself. Yukti yuktam ipadeyam vachanam balakadapi anyatranam avatyajyam apyuktam brahmakadapi. Even Brahma comes and tells, don't believe. If a small child comes and tells you, ask him the reason. And if he is able to explain, consider him as your guru. And that is scientific temper. So we need to rationalize. So it is not scientific temper. Beyond scientific temper is rational. English has got a lot of problems because the language has got some limitations. So that is why English we have synonyms. Sanskritam we don't have synonyms. Yukti is the one word which will, if you translate yukti in English, you can see wonderful collection of words. And those words all together is what is called a scientific temper. And in which probably India had that scientific temper starting from the first Prime Minister. And then we had a great article, which I'm also a law student. I did my LLB from Spanish University. We study scientific temper and the fundamental rights of human in India, the fundamental duty of human being in India. If you have little rational, read article 51A, the closure H. It shall be the duty of every citizen of India to develop scientific temper.
Yeah.
And humanism. And the spirit of inquiry, ask questioning and reform. What a great word we used. You must salute Indira Gandhi for inputting this as the 42nd amendment in 1976. And there are some more things which small amendments added to that with the J and L and all that. I think I don't remember all of them, but this I studied for my exam when I was doing my LLB. Right? So what happens in our life? The scientific temper can be viewed with the bigger lenses, shorter lenses, wider, and the policy resolution which we had. From 1958, the scientific policy was published. And that is how we started thinking about the scientific temper. And today we continue with the discussions. And I'm sure with that discussion, I'm sure utsAhin is doing a great job of making people to think. The open-mindedness, the ready to welcome the new light, Om Bhur Bhuvaswahat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo. The light is there everywhere. Unless it is there inside you, science is there everywhere in the textbook. Unless it comes inside you, enlighten yourself. Greatest scientific temper. Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maithunani, Samani Chaitani Nunam Pashunam, Nanam Naranam Adigo Vishosho. That knowledge has to be there. What is knowledge? Open mind temper. Understand, learning, experiment yourself. Opinion on anything what is happening around you, being a social being. Yukti Yukta Mubadeyam. I told you that. So this Yukti, this is what is to be done. It's amazing communication skill, questioning ability, don't question, ask questions, observe, understand. And when you understand, discuss, argue, analyze, judge, criticize, compare, all that happens, the process happens internally. But what happens to people? They stop, because that's how the teachers tell them, keep quiet, keep quiet. Dr. DPS in my class never asked children to keep quiet. I say shout as much as you want. Discipline has to be there. The discipline comes from internally. And that internal discipline comes when yama, niyama. Niyama is internal discipline. So that internal discipline has to come. When you have to have explain things, you need to have an internal discipline. Otherwise, words will not come in the sequence. Interpreting things, you need an internal discipline. Applying that into science, internal discipline. Have a perspective, it's your attitude. And empathize with the people, a social compassion which you have. All this happens only when you have a self-knowledge. So developing the self-knowledge, but not copy from somewhere. That will come only when you internalize your knowledge. Internalizing knowledge comes only when you ask questions. So it's not belief, it's intellectual honesty. What questions you have, keep asking. The curiosity, the humility, the open-mindedness, the objectivity, the intuitiveness, the critical thinking, all that, including risk-taking. Sometimes you have to have that courage. So that fearlessness is what I was studying. That altogether is what is called a scientific thinking. I think I have spoken enough. Good enough. Thank you. Namaskaram. And thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Sahin. And
thank you so much. Thank you so much, TPS sir. I'm sure you are always there with us, and we'll have one more detailed session. I don't think 15-20 minutes from you is sufficient for us to have the stomach full. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We have noted many points. And now we have got our eminent speaker of the day, Dr. M.S. Prasad Garu. I welcome him to take up the session and inspire us. And his profile is already shared in our invite, and he was the former Vice Chancellor of Vigyan Foundation. He was the Director of ISRO, and he has managed all the areas in whatever positions he has been with in in-depth technical knowledge, and enhanced the teamwork in the areas of initial preparation, final operations, and the launch of our prestigious satellite launch vehicles, PSLV and GSLV launches. Under his guidance, India has made 17 PSLV and 3 GSLV launches, and he was a part of our prestigious one and only Chandrayaan launch. Over to you, Prasad Garu. Uncle, unmute cheyal, uncle.
Can you hear me?
Yes, uncle. Yes.
Thank you very much. First of all, I should say thanks to Raghuram for calling me to participate along with all of you in your utsAhin meeting. The topic is quite interesting, and as I think in the last meeting when I said that you should all develop scientific temper, he picked up that and arranged this. I also had Shashi Kumar talking about the scientific temper. I think he has covered most of the good points. I will briefly give you a few important things and then my views on the scientific temper. Let's go to the PPT. Raghuram, can you operate from there? Uh, yeah, this is okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
We can hear you, sir.
Before we go into the scientific temper, a few of the important things I want to tell all my young students and friends. Every civilization thought Greek or Egyptian or Chinese or Indian, all thought that they are center of the universe. That is the reason why I have put here a galaxy picture in the cover slide. It is only in 1610 Galileo Galilei's telescope was invented, and we started seeing that whatever we see as Milky Way as a clean light in the night is not the light, but it is the our galaxy. And in 1920, hardly 100 years back, only we realized that there are a number of galaxies. Let's go to our galaxy. First slide, please. You can maximize it if you want, the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Milky Way is our galaxy, which is a spiral galaxy. And it is it's estimated that it has got a diameter of 100,000 to 200,000 light years across. These numbers, when we say this big difference, don't think that it is some guess number. It is all depends upon what assumptions you take in the measurements. These are all measured values from the estimated are measured the withdrawal or velocity of the edges of the galaxies. Actually, 1 light year means the distance light travels in 1 year. Actually, light travels in 1 second, 300 into 10 to the power 6 meters, or 3 lakh kilometers light travels per second. So, if it travels for 1 year, at that speed, it will be traveling roughly 9.45 crore years. Okay, 9.45 crore kilometers. So such 1 light year, but our galaxy's diameter is 1 lakh to 2 lakh light years. That is the distance of it, and the solar system is located about 27,000 light years from the center of our galaxy. That means this galaxy, which is formed in around, somewhere in the path from Big Bang. Big Bang happened 13.8 billion years back. 1 billion is equal to 100 crore, 100 crores. Okay, so 13.8 billion years back, the Big Bang happened, and slowly the galaxies formed, and slowly the systems formed, and our own solar system formed about roughly 4.6 to 4.7 billion years back. So people realized, civilizations which were thinking they are center of the universe realized that our Earth and our star, Sun, is a medium-sized star at one faraway distance from the center of our own galaxy, which is universe is having millions of galaxies. Next slide, please. Now, when we come to solar system, the Sun itself is a big sphere of roughly about 14 lakh kilometers, roughly 100 times the size of the Earth. And its surface temperature is 6,000 degrees centigrade, and about less than 0.5% of the energy which the Sun throws out towards our direction sustains the Earth and its atmosphere and its life. If that stops, or if it increases by 0.01% more, we all will be dead within a few seconds. The whole universe, the whole Earth will be completely destroyed. So the solar system, sun itself is having a mass of 2 into 10 to the power 27 tons of mass. The whole solar system is completely mass is dominated by sun. The rest of the all planets and the asteroids only form 0.1% of the total mass of the solar system. Next slide. Now, this is the solar system where 8 planets. Previously, we were told in the schools there were 9 planets, but Pluto is taken out by astronomers as not a planet, but it is a dwarf body. So, 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune revolve around the sun. Now, Earth is 3rd planet from the sun, and that is the only planet which is having atmosphere and life, different forms of life, starting from very molecular living beings to highly developed human beings of today. This is the whole story about people telling we are center of the universe. We are the people, we are the Vishwam, we are the world, we are the universe, and we are the people who decide everything in the universe. All that was nonsense, and it was found 100 years back very clearly that there are millions of galaxies. One of them is Milky Way. It has got 400 billion stars. One of them is Sun. And that sun is having 9 planets. In fact, Saturn is such a big thing. When one of the satellites of NASA is going through the rings of the Saturn, we were all under tension whether it will hit any other rock. So we are the whole Earth, and the whole of this human population is nothing but a speck of dust in this universe. I think let us first understand that. After that, we can start. Because the moment you think you are the hero, you are the center of everything, and everything around you exists for you, then the whole picture will be convoluted. You won't really understand what it is. That's why I wanted to first show you this. Now, the last 100 years, many things happened. Many things are, especially after 1980, 1990, the technology development is so fast that we have developed so fast, and it's very difficult for anybody to catch up. In fact, many of the engineering subjects, what we studied, are no more relevant today. And many of the engineering things, what are interesting today, or what are applicable today, we never studied. Now, let us see the air travel. Some of you might have traveled, and some of you may travel in the future. Let's go to the next slide. Now, man always thought he should fly. Okay, and there were people who were trying to fix wings to their bodies and tries to jump up and fall and break their legs and all those things. But today we have thousands and thousands of aircraft. This is one of the aircrafts, Airbus A320. In fact, it's very interesting to know that this program was launched in 1984. And the first Airbus A320 aircraft flew in 1987. And it can take 150 passengers. And when it is fully loaded with passengers and all the fuel, it weighs roughly 78 tons, 78,000 kg. But it will be lifted and it will travel roughly about 6,000 kilometers of range with the help of only 2 engines, both of them put together generate only 25 tons of thrust. So 25 tons of thrust of 2 engines lift 78 tons of the aircraft up and flies it at a velocity of 800 kilometers per hour, not per second, per hour. Please bind it. This is a very slow one. On one side, we had light which travels at 3 lakh kilometers per second. And this aircraft flies only 800 kilometers per hour. And this takes you from one place to another place. And this, many of you may not be knowing, when this aircraft A320 flies, 230 computers inside work. Roughly about 70 computers do very important functions. And 35 computers are essential for it to safely land. Of course, many airlines will not fly unless 70 essential computers, all 70 are working. So every function has got 2 computers, one main and one redundant, and so safely you can travel. So today, roughly about 100 years back, when we were wondering how a man can fly in like a bird, today we have a number of aircrafts. In fact, this Airbus company manufactures this type of aircrafts, 60 aircrafts per month. 60 aircrafts per month, and each aircraft costs 600 to 700 crore rupees. So they manufacture 60 of them per month, and over a year they manufacture about 700 to 800 aircrafts, and equal number by Boeing company. These 2 companies practically control all the air travel in the whole world. And today, with the help of this type of aircraft, we are able to fly from Delhi to New York in something like 10 to 12 hours of time, and then very comfortably, like as if you are in your drawing room. And this is the type of development the science had brought in, and we are using it every day. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, this I explained. Next. Now, leave about the air travel. People were thinking that other than our Earth, there is no way we can go travel. But then in 1966, Russians had developed a launch vehicle called Soyuz, which can take people around the Earth into space and into the systems. And this aircraft, this launch vehicle today, that means something like in 50 years, it had 1,900 launches. This is the only launch vehicle in the whole world which has got reliability of more than 99%. And it puts about 8 tons into low Earth orbit called LEO at 400 kilometers. And when the space shuttle was stopped by US because of their problems, for the last 10 years from 2011 to 2020, 10 years, this is the only launch vehicle which was taking a crew to the International Space Station and bringing them back. Almost 4 to 5 launches per year. The crew was going and coming back only using this vehicle. And it is such a reliable one. You can put 3 to 4 people in it and forget about them. They will go and dock with the ISS. This is how the people travel in the space and move in the space. Next slide. Now, let's come down. Instead of talking big things about the air travel and space travel, one of the revolutions which had happened in India and everywhere is mobile phones. Today, with the mobile phones, you can do mails, you can do the messages, and like when my computer fails, as Raghuram wanted, I am in fact talking to you through my smartphone. Okay, so the number of active wireless subscribers in India 2 years back, I mean 1.5 years back, November 2020 statistics are available, is 968 million. That means out of a total population of India of 139 crore or 3090 million, 968 million have got the wireless subscribers. And mobile subscribers drastically increased in India from 2008 to 2020. In every 100 people, there are only 29 people who were using mobiles in 2008. And today, 85 people out of 100 are using the mobiles. Maybe a few people use 2 or 3 phones like me. So even if you remove that, out of 140 crore population, at least 50 crore population have got mobile phones in India. And the smartphone usage is further going on increasing. Right now it is 49 crore, but okay, maybe 30 crore. It will further increase, but it will increase drastically because you are able to send mail, you are able to make payment, you are able to operate your accounts, you are able to talk, you are able to do everything. In fact, my son doesn't want me to send him the calendar because he says he can do everything in his mobile phone and he knows it, so he doesn't want calendar, which we used to hang on our wall every year. Okay, this is the amount of change science brought in our way of life, in our way of communication, in our way of talking. In fact, in 1975, when I was in Trivandrum and when Raghuram and others are kids, we used to wait for hours together when we book a trunk call to talk to some other town. Today, it's seconds, within seconds, you can talk to anywhere in the whole world. So this is brought in by the science and technology and engineering developments. Next slide. Now, I brought in all the things. So some people may wrongly think that scientific temper means the progress of science and technology. No, it's not. It's a part of it. Accepting. Why I wanted to bring this is, many people today we see who are using all the results of the progress of science and technology are very backward in their thinking. They use the latest devices, but use very backward thinking. The best example is our TVs. If you see our TV programs, you can see they will be using DTH, they will be using the broadcast through satellites, and they will be using the latest ones, but they will be telling you the most, most backward ideas in the thinking. The first time I realized it was when I was in second year engineering, 1970. When I went to my native place, half a kilometer from where I was standing, there was a meeting going on, a Adhyatmika meeting, that is a religious meeting, somebody giving lecture. And I am able to hear that through the speaker, which were put all along the wall, all along the street, half a kilometer. He is telling you, there is nothing in front of you. Because you think it is there, you are seeing it. Really, it is not there. It is all Brahma. It is all only your thinking. Nothing is there. And he is using the electricity, he is using the audio system, he is using the cables, he is using the speakers, and through that he is conveying what he is talking to the people. But he says nothing is there. This is all nothing there. It's not there. You are only assuming it is there. So that type of very backward thinking or fossilized thinking is against the development of science and technology. But unfortunately, the best results of science and technology are being used effectively by the people who are unscientific and very, very backward. So, scientific temper is about society adopting scientific approach in its progress, accepting SNT, science and technology, and seeking new knowledge and having a critical thinking. This is the essential part of the scientific temper. Next slide. Now, some more details when we go about our country. Out of 1400 million, I have put it, or maybe 1380 million could be the right number. Out of 1380 million, 965 million people are the rural population. That means practically 2/3 of our population is living in villages. And the 2/3 of the people, their contribution to the GDP through agriculture is only 17 to 19%. In fact, 17 to 19% after 2003. Before that, it was hardly 14%. Okay. And today in India, we have workforce of 406 million. That means 40.6 crore people work in this country. That is pre-COVID pandemic. Because COVID pandemic time, another 90 lakh people lost their jobs. Almost 1 crore people lost their jobs. So, out of this 406 million, Raghram, you can tell me when I should stop. In a few minutes, I'll be completing, okay? Total workforce of out of 40 crore, 90% of them earn only 10,000 rupees per month. And we understand every person who earns in this country supports a family of minimum 3 to 4 people. That means one person in this country, 90% of the working population earn this much, means a lot of people live on only just 3,000 rupees per month is their total living expenditure. And we have a very high level of wealth inequality in the country. The 45% of the national wealth is owned by top 10%. That means half of the wealth of this country is in the hands of only 10%. That means only about 12 crore people. And whereas almost 70 crore people own only 6% of national wealth, half of the population. So it's a highly unequal in terms of wealth and economy. And in fact, you should all know, because of COVID, schools are closed, the total students who are affected were 32 crore students. Out of that, 84% are in rural areas and 70% were in government schools. So can you think of, we might be, I mean, we may be lucky that we are having all connectivity online and everything, but there are 70% of 32 crore students who had no online education for almost 2 years. The education is lost. So this is the uneven development of the country and unequal situation of the country. Next slide, please. Now, as already Shashikumar told, it is the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who had coined the word scientific temper in the Indian context as a way of life, because he also saw that science and technology is the only solution for removing hunger, poverty, insanitation, illiteracy, and all problems of the country. But people are very backward in their thinking. They are not accepting a scientific approach. They are not ready for questioning and critical attitude. So we should really give all our respects to Jawaharlal Nehru for telling us what is scientific temperament and how this country should adopt it. Next slide. So the scientific temper definition is given here. I have put all this, even though it is available here and there, into this PowerPoint, which Raghram can share with everybody so that they will have it on their hand. So this is the principal aim of the scientific temper, is to develop critical and undogmatic receptiveness of knowledge. And this is opposed to all types of religions and all types of religious bigotry. And these people talk, every religion divides people. Every religion, I think these things we should not get into unless you test as Shashikumar told, unless you observe, test, hypothesize, analyze, and critically accept it, you should not accept any view. Next slide, please. Now, as already he told you, the 42nd Amendment in 1976 introduced the development of scientific temper as one of the fundamental duties of the people. So, duties of the citizens. So, I suggest that all of you, especially the young students, should take it as the duty as the citizens of India to develop the scientific temper and rational approach in the society and propagate it among all their colleagues. Next. Now, finally, the elements of the scientific temper are quest for truth and knowledge, spirit of inquiry. That means don't accept anything without testing and without being the truth, because nowadays it's very difficult to get truth, because earlier when somebody in a higher position talks, we used to take it as the truth. And nowadays it's very difficult. I think the lies are being talked more by the people who are in top positions than the ordinary people. So we must accept the right to question and to be questioned by others. And scientific approach is anything to observe, hypothesize, test it, analyze it, and then communicate. Don't accept it as a blind acceptance, which every religion demands. Every religion demands you believe, and this is the correct approach. You don't need to ask why it is. It is commanded to be like this. It's not just Hinduism. It's Hinduism, Christianity, Muslim. All the religions in the world talk like that. Maybe partly Buddhism can be exempted from this, but that's also partly because it is also divided religion. So we should have a rational outlook. That is the essential thing about it. You should know about the society. If suppose your TV anchor keeps on telling that India is great, India is growing, India is only USA and Russia or China are only after us, we are the greatest in the world. If you believe it, I think then you are exactly doing opposite of scientific temper. Okay, next slide. So lastly, I want to tell you, scientific temper is the need of the hour today, much more than earlier. Earlier, at least people used to be rational. Nowadays, I'm finding it very difficult to find one rational fellow among the people I meet. So I wish all of you should develop a scientific temper and contribute to the healthy and rational development of our country and society. Next slide. So last slide. Thank you very much. And anything you start looking as a wonder, if you really go through scientific temper, it will end up as a new wisdom to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this wonderful insight into the details of scientific temperament. And I'm sure all our educators have understood this. I will share this presentation as Dr. Prasad Garu was telling. And now without much delay, I will pass on to Mrs. Prasanna to give the closing comments of the event. Over to you, Prasanna.
Thank you, sir. It's actually an honor to share my perspective as a science teacher today on this platform with such eminent speakers. It is really my honor. I don't know if I can do justice, but I will try my best. So today our first speaker, Garu, started with a classic example of Socrates, stating about the fact that science, philosophy, creativity, spirituality are not separate, but they all go together. That will develop the scientific temperament in everyone. All those are not different, but all that should work together in order to get the scientific temperament. And so next he emphasized the fact that what can be experimental need not be science, and what cannot be experimented need not be not science. So that is one takeaway which I will have with me forever. And the 5 W's and 1 H, sir shared with us as to where, why, what, when, who, and how. Those are also going to be the takeaway for all the teachers. I think from tomorrow, teachers will start working on that, all the teachers. And the 3 apples example was also classic, sir. And India, sir also emphasized that India has already has the rational thinking developed long back. Even if our tradition, our culture itself says that even if a child answers questions, treat him as good. So that has already been always there with us. And we have to view the scientific temperament with bigger, wider lens, with an open mind, and experience science everywhere around us. So one very big statement which is going to stay with me forever is that don't question, but ask questions. Really wonderful way of putting that. And last, I would like to conclude by saying that the Sir's Yama and Niyama, that is also one more very learning thing for teachers to take into practice. So wonderful listening to you, sir. And scientific temperament is nothing but we should have our own perspective, internalize our knowledge, ask questions, develop intuitiveness, and have courage. And all these together, all the qualities together will develop scientific temperament. So that was from our first speaker. And our second speaker, Prasad Garu, gave wonderful, valuable, and astonishing facts about our space, our galaxy, and air travel, launching of a satellite, and many more, even Big Bang Theory. So I'm sure after hearing all these things, everybody realizes how small, as sir mentioned, a speck of dust we are in this entire universe, and there is a lot more to explain and much more to learn. So that way, sir has also inspired all of us to develop scientific temperament. And sir also emphasized that the change in the technology, the mobiles and all the data internet has brought in our lives, which should be used in a proper way with an open mind to develop the scientific temperament. And he called on all students on youth to take it as a responsibility to develop scientific temperament in everybody. And both our speakers emphasized on the Article 51, 42nd Amendment. And as both our speakers inspired us, scientific temperament is the need of the hour. And I thank for giving me this opportunity. And I sincerely thank both the speakers for sharing with us today and inspiring us. Thank you, sir. And over to Raghuram, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prasanna Garu, for the closing comments. And now I pass on to Ms. Piali for giving the, sorry, I pass on to Yesh to give the vote of thanks. Please, Yesh.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Raghuram sir. Good evening, dear utsAhins and esteemed guests. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion. Firstly, I would like to extend my hearty thanks to our guest speakers, Dr. T.P. Shashikumarji, ji, who has given a beautiful message on developing scientific temperament in students and everyone. I would like to call him spiritual scientist because he blended Vedanta and science, breaking the myth that scientific temper is not against religion or it's all about atheism. It sees the concept of God in a different light. And for the enlightening examples and the call to action, he spoke about the intellectual honesty and self-inquiry. Thank you for ending on a spiritual note. Vedanta says that you can even question Brahma, the creator. It's my pleasure to thank the other chief speaker of the day, Dr. MIS Prasad Garu. Special thanks to all the efforts that you have put in documenting your thoughts, starting from enlightening us with that we are just a speck of dust in the universe, to all those wonderful facts and figures. And you ended on a beautiful note. asking us to convert our wonder into wisdom. The Adbhuta Rasa. Thank you so much, sir. I'd like to extend my gratitude to Raghuram sir for being a wonderful host today. Ram Reddy sir for inspiring us as always. My heartfelt thanks to Vasuki ji for giving us the divine start with the prayer. Prasanna ji for the crisp closing comments and all those energy that you have added to today's meeting. I would like to especially thank the entire team of utsAhin for putting the continuous efforts for making utsAhin an amazing platform for learning. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our audience for their consistent support and cheering, which pushes us to do more and more. It was a wonderful meeting today, and thank you again. Over to Raghuram sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Yash, for extending the vote of thanks, and thank you so much, Prasad sir and TPS sir, as always. Thanks a lot. And now may we have the English prayer from all the way from US, PLE.
Yeah, the prayer goes. May we march forward with a common goal. May we be open-minded and work together in harmony. May our prayers be one. May we belong to one brotherhood. May our aspirations be harmonious. May our minds be in unison. May we strive to reduce disparity. May we be bound in strong fellowship and unity. Sangachatvam.
Sangachatvam. Thank you, PLE. And may I request everybody to please stand up for the national anthem and end the meeting.
Janagana mana adhinayaka jaya he Bharat bhagya vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे